Hello, my name is Corey Sanchez-Smith. I am the owner of Heart Shift Consulting, where we cultivate choice-filled lives through heart work. I have the pleasure of introducing to you Danyel.crutcher. Crutch is a program manager at Playworks. Playworks is a leading nonprofit focused on implementing high-quality play during recess in our nation's schools. They really have fine-tuned and mastered even the integration of SEL practice with play when kids are at their best, really, and having the most fun. So it was lovely to talk to Crutch about what that could look like and how schools everywhere, if they're Playworks schools or not, can implement some of these best practices. So get ready. Here comes Crutch. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, Crutch. It's been forever. So I'm thrilled to see you. You look exactly the same as, we won't talk about how long ago, but you look exactly the same.
You know, I've been taking my vitamins.
Good.
And getting a lot of sunlight. So
some self-care.
Oh, important.
Right. So there's no way you'd remember, but the first time I met you, I had walked in to the middle of a training you were leading. So I was in conversation with some of Playworks executives around implementing the Playworks model in our schools. And they're like, you need to go to this training. You need to go and see what this is like. So I walk in and there you are in your full glory, like getting us 40-plus-year-olds running around a room, making every possible smile happen. And that was my introduction to Playworks. So I want to catch everyone else up. Like, what is Playworks? What's your pathway? Where are you now? Just tell us all the things.
Man, so let's talk about how I even found Playworks, right? Like literally I was transitioning after playing basketball overseas for a few years. And I was trying to just figure out, like, what am I supposed to do next? And literally I found Playworks on Craigslist back in New Jersey. So I started my journey out there in New Jersey as an AmeriCorps member. And literally I was placed out of school and I played games all day and I got a living stipend. I was like, this cannot be real. You have to be kidding me. Fast forward a few years later, we decided to open up a region in Georgia, is where I met you. And they were like, you know what, Crutch, really, we like how you move, right? Can you go move to Georgia and support the launch? And I'm like, sure, why not? So I go to Georgia, we launched Playworks here. And then we wound up growing to like 24 schools. So basically what we do is we help school districts and other youth serving organizations make the most of recess, stay positive, build a positive atmosphere, stay active, and build valuable life skills all through play. So we do that a couple different ways. You can be an on-site coach, like I started back in 2012. Ooh, that was a long time ago. We also do some consultation service. We did professional development, which is where I think you first were introduced to Playworks. I was leading the training. And then we provide a bunch of free resources. Like, we really believe that everyone deserves to play, or every child deserves to play every single day. So we do that in a multiple different ways, just depending on, what our audiences need. So it's not just a one shoe fits all. We can figure it out. We just want kids to play every day. And I'm going to also say adults as well. So
that would be wonderful. Now, Playworks has been very clear in the time that I've known the organization to connect social emotional learning with your emphasis on play. And I think that's unique. I think a lot of schools, when they focus on social emotional learning, they know that it's important. They look at academic integration, or they look at explicit instruction, but I don't hear too many schools putting forth the idea that recess is part of this as well. So what do you guys know about play, recess, and its connection to social emotional learning?
Yeah, it connects in so many different ways. So even just thinking about some of the research says that, providing like a safe and a well-supervised recess offers a lot of cognitive, social, emotional, and physical benefits that people don't necessarily think about. So like even with us, I've seen a lot of our coaches play a bunch of different games, but they're really intentional about like what skills they're working on. So let's say, for an example, we're working on conflict resolution or problem solving, right? what we'll do is our coaches will develop a lesson plan or games around problem solving and be very intentional with their debrief to kind of connect it to the game and then back to, real life experiences. So for an example, we believe in this magical game called rock, paper, scissors to use to solve for a lot of conflicts. And let's say um, for the lesson, our coaches want to really work on conflict resolution because fourth grade is really struggling. So we might play this game that involves a lot of rock, paper, scissors.
No, you
And,
can do Rochambeau. Us Cali people call it Rochambeau.
okay, yeah, I mean Rochambeau, right? So we're okay. Let's take it there. So we're playing Rochambeau, a game using Rochambeau, and then what they'll do is they'll say, "All right, so how did we use Rochambeau during this game?" And then the students answer, "Well, we used it to see who was more successful to move to the next round." Awesome. Then we'll take it a step further. When you think about conflict resolution, right? Like, what are some other ways that we can possibly resolve conflict, maybe throughout the school day, right? And then kids will start like, you know what, we can use Rochambeau, or we talk it out. So it really use and play as I want to say, as a gateway to kind of like support like, building life skills. And it's really, really interesting. And it's really not that difficult. It just takes a lot of intentionality, which I think Playworks does a great job at. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that giving kids practice with their SEL skills in their most natural environment, right, when they're interacting with others during play, is so important, because the classroom's a controlled environment where there's a teacher at the lead, right? But to really figure out, okay, how do I work well with others? How do I resolve conflicts? How do we do this thing called life when adults are not around, right? Like when it's just us kids, and how do I fine tune the skills to really get along with my peers? Because those examples you just gave, they show up when they're at home, or when they're, in their community on the weekends, or wherever they are. It's like, how do I navigate my relationships without an adult telling me what to do the whole time? And so that's really, really powerful. So you guys have focused on recess, which I got to tell you, when I started teaching here in Atlanta, it wasn't my first year, but I taught at a school where recess was the first thing to go. Like it was an underperforming school, and all the metrics that say that something's underperforming. And the principal at the time had decided we needed longer math instruction, and we had needed longer ELA instruction. We had to catch these kids up. And the very first thing to get crossed off the schedule was recess. So
Breaks my heart.
it happens too much, right? So if you were, let's just say that that's hopefully not happening anymore, but if you're speaking just to educators that want to do something around play, right? Maybe it has to be in their classroom. Maybe they don't have a structured recess time like some other schools. What are your recommendations, some tips, some suggestions? How can individual teachers make a difference in this way?
The first thing I'll say, brain breaks, I think, are super important. Just like little stuff, like if we're transitioning from math to ELA, I might want to give my kids a second and maybe play a quick, like, all right, we're going to play a quick round of Rochambeau. Fine, 3 people play Rochambeau, and then tally how many times you won, right? So maybe we're even then still enforcing the math lesson we went over, or we're still doing math in some type of creative way, but like I'm also giving my kids a break. I've seen a lot of teachers incorporate a lot of games within their lessons. So I know my time as a coach to try to create buy-in, because like you just said, sometimes play isn't valued. I would go into different classrooms and talk about or play games with kids and then connect it back to the lesson. So let's say we're doing, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Let's say, I always say relay races are great, right? So let's say we're checking or doing a review for maybe states and capitals, because we're like in 5th grade, right? And what I might do is I might put states and capitals on the board, and then I might put the students into 2 teams, and then I might say, all right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a relay race. The first person, you connect the right state to the capital. You walk back like a turtle, because we're in the classroom, want to be safe, right? Walk back to a turtle, pass the mark, the next person goes. And the first team to finish all the matching, sit down in a straight line, and then the winner or most successful group will get a point, right? Like just making it fun. Like, yeah, the kids are having fun, but they're also like, you're reinforcing the lesson that you taught the kids. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a bunch of different creative ways you can incorporate play into your classroom, and the kids are also learning, right? They're learning in a less than stressful environment. It seems very natural to them, like you said. But you're being intentional about like what the kids are leaving with.
Yeah, so it becomes an exercise of teachers sitting down with their lesson plans and saying, when can I incorporate movement into the day, right? Like, when can I still hit my objectives and my goals instructionally, but the kids are up and active and engaged with others?
Yeah, for
We,
sure.
we have
I can
worked.
give you, I can give you one more. So like, let's say, I know a lot of times, now I'm gonna see, I might outdate myself here, like, but like centers, right? What you can do is like in between, all right, I need you to touch something in the classroom that's red, something blue, something yellow,
Oh,
something orange, and then go to your assigned center, right? So it is not taking a lot of time. We're talking about 30 seconds, but the kids are able to get some of those jitters out. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And it's a nice smooth transition to get kids to where you need them to be. So get ready for the next lesson of the day. So
And what you're pointing out is that it's focused. It's not just move, wiggle, shake around, where kids can sometimes get in trouble doing that, right?
yeah.
Like when it doesn't have enough direction, but you're giving very specific activities for them
Mhm.
to do that allows them to move. That's awesome. Now we're primarily
Intentional, Corey, intentional.
intentional. Yes, that's the word of this interview. Intentional. What about older kids? What about we've given some elementary examples. Do you have any thoughts about secondary schools? Like maybe because a lot of them really don't have recess.
They don't at all. um, I mean, honestly, I would say some of the same things, right? Like we don't focus necessarily on secondary schools. But we also do we do like things called corporate play days with adults, and we do some of the same things. We might do them through like some check-in questions or like some simple games just to get people moving before we like move into an activity. So let's say I'm in my ninth grade chemistry class. I might ask everyone a question about, I don't know, a check-in question before we get into our lesson. And then maybe again, I might incorporate a game, or I might incorporate a relay race into one of my lessons. I think sometimes we limit ourselves in thinking that play is just for kids. But
Yeah.
even myself as an adult, like we in our Playworks office in Georgia, we had a four squared in the middle of the office. And sometimes we're like, you know what? I'm stressed over writing this grant or with this school partner. Let's play a game of four square. And it releases energy, and it really helped me refocus to get back to doing whatever task I had at hand. So I think brain breaks and play are super important. No matter what age,
But
I play all the time.
you make a great point in that this should be the work of faculty meetings, right? Like administrators watching this should say, how can I incorporate play with my adults as we're meeting, as groups, talking about the work in a way that reduces stress and gets people connected and builds relationships. Because the more comfortable adults are doing this with, other adults, then they will very naturally be able to lead kids through these activities, right? So it's like practice first together and then incorporate these ideas in your classroom. I think that's an awesome point, and hopefully one that someone will take away.
I think about when we talk about like even like social emotional learning, like there's a there's a couple steps we need to take before we even talk about the kids, right? Like we need to make sure that like we have these things as adults, right? I think about like the Castle Five, and one of the competencies are is self-awareness. So we really want kids to be self-aware. We have to make sure that we're also self-aware first, right? Like I think it's difficult sometimes for us, or we put a lot of pressure on our kids to do these different things, but we don't necessarily haven't mastered them ourselves. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So if we're working on those things as well and model them for our kids will naturally pick up on them.
Right. And the truth is, it's okay that we don't have life perfected, because that's
Right.
part of social emotional learning, also the process of learning and growing. So just
Mhm.
being open to developing in this way if it's not something that's already natural to you. So you mentioned that Playworks has some free resources. Can you give us a little bit of an idea? If I'm a teacher and I'm watching this and I don't have Playworks as a partner at the school, but I really want to do some things, what lead us to where we could go to get some information?
Definitely. You can go to our website, playworks.org /resources. And then you can find like we have game guides. So there's games and it breaks down like what SEL competencies that that you'll be working on.
Yeah.
We also have a recess checkup, and it's a very quick assessment, like 2 to 5 minutes. that you'll take, and then it'll provide you some tools based on your score, for lack of a better word. So
Is
yeah, I think we have a lot of stuff for free. Again, our mission is that every kid plays every day. So we want to be able to provide whatever we can to support kids across the country.
awesome. And what if people want to just be connected to you? How should they follow your example and your inspiration? How can people keep up with what you're doing?
Well, I'm always available via email. You can find me at Danielle, so DANYEL.crutcher, CRUTCHER at playworks.org.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put your information in the body of this video. And Crutch, thank you so much for giving me your time. I love your organization. I think you're awesome. Being around you is just being around joy. So I appreciate you giving your gift to us today. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. No problem. Anytime.
Yes, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care.